From a young age, I was forced to sleep in a coffin and eat worms to survive. My father said he would raise me until I was 18, then bury me alive to lend my lifespan to my weak younger brother. I lay curled up in the coffin, a cold iron chain shackled around my neck. Year-round, deprived of sunlight, my complexion was unnaturally pale, and my body held no strength. My father entered, carrying a plate. He tapped on the side of the coffin, signaling that it was mealtime. I weakly sat up, looking into the plate filled with wriggling flesh worms, mostly plump silkworms. I had long since grown numb to it. I picked one up and put it in my mouth, still feeling it squirm and wriggle down my esophagus as I swallowed. The taste. My father smoked, indifferent to everything, as if I wasn't his daughter at all, but merely livestock he kept in a pen. "Hope," he suddenly said. "Hope," meaning to protect my brother. "Tomorrow you'll be free." He tapped his pipe hard against the coffin's side, each clang echoing ominously. "Be smarter in your next life. Be reborn somewhere good." With a contemptuous puff, he blew a large mouthful of smoke directly into my face. I choked, coughing violently, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. He wanted me to die, to settle a debt, to trade my life for my brother's health in this one. My brother and I were Dragon Phoenix twins, a boy and a girl. But after he was born, his face was bruised purple, and his breathing was shallow. Master 8 from the village performed a divination, and his expression drastically changed. He said my brother, Defu's, fate was to offend Tai Sui. Don't be fooled that he was born at the same time as me, but his birthday was his death day. My father prostrated himself on the ground, begging Master 8 for a solution. Master 8 taught him a method: raise me in a coffin to bear my brother's misfortunes. And so, when I turned 18, they would bury me alive. He claimed to have a way to transfer all my future blessings and longevity to my brother. Quite sinister, wasn't it? Other girls were cherished by their parents, enjoying happy lives. But what about me? I finished eating quickly. My father carried the plate, humming a little tune as he walked. The courtyard was unusually lively. My father had hired village carpenters who were building a large, deep-red coffin, a double coffin. One side was for my burial. The other would hold a paper effigy with my brother Defu's birth details written on it. I vaguely heard my father whispering to someone. "Old Zhao, you've caught all the snakes I needed, exactly 100 of them, all redneck snakes, they bite hard." My father continued, "Keep them safe. Master 8 instructed that tomorrow, during the live burial, all these snakes must be poured into the coffin. The more violently they bite Hope, the more tragic her death, the greater the blessings my son will borrow." The other man clicked his tongue a few times. I was terrified, clutching myself, helplessly curled up in the coffin. Not long after, my father bid these people good night, and the courtyard fell silent, a terrifying stillness. But in my room, a cold wind stirred, blowing back and forth. I shivered, trembling from the cold. But I knew he had arrived, or perhaps it had arrived. I had a secret, perhaps related to sleeping in a coffin and enduring misfortune since childhood. I could see things ordinary people couldn't. I don't remember how old I was. One night, I woke up, frightened by the sight before me. Above the coffin, a hazy figure hovered. He seemed to be secretly watching me too. Just for a fleeting moment, his face became a little clearer. It was a pale-faced young man. I was so scared I crumbled, wailing desperately, calling for my parents, but no one answered. Instead, he floated down and finally lay down beside me. I didn't know who he was or why he had come for me, but he was very gentle, with no ill intent. Gradually, we became friends, my only friend in this lonely life. My way of addressing him also slowly changed. From Mr. at first, I eventually called him Bai, simply because I was growing up, while he remained eternally youthful, unchanged. Now, as the cold wind stirred, I knew he was here again. I looked up. Sure enough, a hazy figure stood beside the coffin. I couldn't hold back anymore and burst into loud sobs. "Bai, tomorrow I have to go to your world. What is that world really like? I'm so scared. I don't know anyone there. After I die, can you come and get me, protect me?" I kept talking to myself, because Bai would always remain silent, a mute listener. Suddenly, the hazy figure moved closer. He lay prone on the edge of the coffin, extending his ethereal, fleeting hand to touch my cheek. He wanted to wipe away my tears, but sadly, yin and yang were separated. He couldn't touch me. He frantically tried a few more times. I didn't want him to be so flustered. I resolutely turned my back to him. I continued to cry. Bai floated down and lay inside, holding me tight from behind. I was even more surprised. The next second, a faint sound suddenly reached my ear. "I'm here, don't be afraid. Also, remember this. Tomorrow, during the ominous hour, no matter who calls you, don't answer. If they press you hard, shout your brother's name loudly." The ominous hour was from 5 to 7 a.m. tomorrow. Master 8 had calculated the Mao hour, 5-7 a.m., as the most dangerous moment this year. Yin and yang clashed, all things were extremely ill-fated in an instant. The next morning, before dawn, for the first time in my life, my shackles were removed. My father dragged me out of the coffin like a dead dog, taking me to my brother's room. An old woman immediately put makeup on me, my naturally disheveled appearance instantly transformed. My brother, held in my mother's arms, coldly watched. He coughed occasionally, extremely weak. "Mother, when this person dies later, will my illness be cured?" He didn't even call me sister, just this person. My mother cooed and coaxed him. "De Fu, you're not sick. Our De Fu will live to be 100. My brother then asked. "She grew up so beautiful. After she dies, can I become as beautiful as she is?" "Yes, yes you will," my mother promised repeatedly. She also shot me a ferocious look, mixed with malice and envy. I was so scared, so very scared. At the exact hour, we quickly set off. I was bound with ropes, hung on a carrying pole, and carried away like a pig being taken to slaughter. The deep red coffin, a step slower, was carried behind us. My mind was as thick as fried batter. Finally, the group reached the mountain behind the village. It was a desolate place, said to have salty, alkaline soil, unsuitable for crops but perfect for burying bodies. Master 8, dressed in a coarse blue robe, had already set up an altar in an open clearing. 49 blessing lamps were lit, their greenish light flickering like will-o'-the-wisps. The deep red coffin was placed into the pre-dug pit amidst Master 8's chanting and spell casting. With a thud, I was also thrown into the red coffin. The fall was painful, my whole body felt like it would shatter. I looked to the other side. A paper effigy already lay there, its expression a mocking smile, its features radiating death as if staring at me. I forgot the pain, desperately trying to crawl out. I pleaded incessantly with my parents and brother, with the 8 burly men carrying the coffin, and with Master 8 begging them to spare me. Please, please. But in return, there were only loud curses. My brother was the most enraged, dragging his sickly body over, frantically kicking me several times. At this moment, Master 8 shouted, "Point the burial spot, bury the scapegoat, protect the brother, banish ill fortune, welcome great prosperity for De Fu. The auspicious hour has arrived, unleash the 100 dragons and close the coffin." My father raised a burlap sack, aimed it into the coffin, and with a forceful swing, countless snakes rained down from above, plopping, plopping all over me. That slimy, squirming sensation shattered me. My father ran off quickly, afraid of being bitten by the snakes. The 8 strong men then worked together, sealing the coffin completely. In an instant, I fell into endless darkness. At this point, sounds resonated from the coffin lid. They were burying me with soil. I knew that some of these snakes were crawling into my pants, others wriggling towards my face. I gritted my teeth, lying still and motionless, afraid to provoke them. Master 8 must have been performing some ritual outside. Inside this red coffin, a reaction had begun. Above my head and the paper effigy, a small space was left on each side, with an oil lamp placed above them. Now the lamps flickered eerily. The lamp on my side burned brightly, while the flame on the paper effigy's side was weak. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my thigh. I'd been bitten by a snake. A sensation of both pain and numbness instantly surged to my brain, corresponding to the 2 lamps. The flame on my side weakened slightly, while the other side's flame instantly flared up. Borrowing longevity, it's borrowing longevity. I faintly heard my brother's joyous shouts from outside the coffin. I desperately closed my eyes, waiting to be tormented to death. Was this life to end so tragically? But suddenly, a wind stirred in the coffin, a bone-chilling cold, an eerie, dark energy. And strangely, these venomous snakes, as if encountering realgar, a mineral used to ward off snakes, stopped biting and crawling. They writhed uncomfortably, scrambling to roll off me. I opened my eyes in astonishment. Outside the coffin, Master 8 seemed to have encountered an unexpected problem. He first let out a shout, then his chanting grew louder and louder. Everyone has a desire to live, don't they? I now had only one thought. I frantically pounded on the coffin, scratching wildly, desperate to escape this place. In that moment, I accidentally glanced to my side, frozen in fear. The paper effigy, a lifeless object, its eyeballs rotated, glancing back at me. I screamed, Oh, trying my best to shrink to one side, wanting to keep my distance from it. But the red coffin offered so little space. The paper effigy became more animated. Not only did its eyes dart around, but it also grinned sinisterly. It flipped over, lunging directly onto me, pressing down hard. I panicked, thrashing wildly, trying to push it off, but I couldn't. The paper effigy clutched my neck with one hand. Hope, hope! It practically pressed its face against mine, calling my name. This was truly like some dark magic. My whole body felt hazy, on the verge of answering. The words reached my lips, and I suddenly remembered Bai's repeated warnings. I stopped myself in time, only letting out a soft, "moo." Surely that didn't count as answering, right? But I felt my body being cruelly drained, instantly weak and powerless. The paper effigy greedily pressed closer to my nose and mouth, its mouth wide open, sucking something in. The two oil lamps above our heads changed even more dramatically now. The flame on my side had dwindled to a tiny flicker, while its flame surged uncontrollably. Outside the coffin, Master Eight's chanting rose a tone higher, almost a scream. My brother's joyous shouts incessantly reached my ears. The paper effigy, triumphant, pressed even harder on my neck. I was suffocating. Hope, hope! It continuously called out, but how could I fall for it again? Gathering my last dying breath, I whispered, "De fu, Zhao de fu." I was even afraid of a potential namesake. After all, who knew if anyone else in this world had such a foolish name? I resolutely shouted out my brother's full birth details. The paper effigy stared at me, quite horrifyingly. Its grip on my neck immediately loosened. Finally, I could breathe, greedily gasping for air. I didn't dare stop for a second, afraid of another unforeseen turn of events. Furthermore, I turned and used all my strength to choke its neck. Zhao de Fu, the second house west of Zhao village, that Zhao de Fu who was sickly and couldn't take care of himself since childhood. I pinpointed him precisely from all angles. The paper effigy thrashed and twisted uncomfortably in all sorts of ways. This time, it was its turn to try to escape, to return to its side and lie down again, but how could that be possible? Especially seeing its wildly rotating eyeballs, it was truly annoying, truly nauseating. I furiously clawed at it. The paper effigy struggled frantically for a few moments, then, its eyes vacant, lay motionless, once again a lifeless object. Meanwhile, the oil lamps above our heads had completely changed. The flame on my side burned so brightly it almost scorched the coffin lid, while the other side went hiss and died out. I also heard a tragic scream from outside the coffin. It was my brother. Then my father, as if going mad, loudly asked Master Eight, "What's wrong with De Fu? Why has his hair turned completely white?" "Master, quickly save him, please." Outside the coffin, the scene grew increasingly chaotic, with my parents' cries and pleas, the 8 burly men shouting in fear, and Master Eight yelling for everyone to calm down. I curled up now was surprisingly serene, recalling what had just happened, still a little scared. Very quickly, Master Eight shouted again, "Something's wrong inside, dig her out." Someone jumped onto the coffin, immediately clearing the dirt and sand. Next, the 8 strong men worked together to lift the coffin lid. A ray of sunlight shone directly in, blinding me so much I almost couldn't open my eyes. After a moment of adjustment, I sat up and observed everything outside the coffin. I was stunned. My brother lay prostrate on the ground like a dog, but was this still my brother? It hadn't been long, yet his hair had turned completely white and his face was covered in wrinkles. I wondered if I should start calling him Grandpa with his appearance now. At this moment, everyone was also observing me. My father's eyes were the sharpest. He also saw the 2 oil lamps, one extinguished, one burning brightly. "It was you killed my son." My father was practically insane. "You cunning, malicious demon, give me back my son." My father lunged, raising his hand to strangle me. Seeing his furious, murderous gaze and his intent to kill me, this wasn't my father. He didn't deserve to be, and I wouldn't let him do as he pleased anymore. I also raised my fist. At this moment, I was astonished to find myself full of strength. It must have been related to what just happened. The longevity had indeed been borrowed. Only I had borrowed it from my brother. Originally, I was a girl who didn't know how to fight and had never fought, but I fought like my life depended on it. This was actually an instinct. I attacked left and right, aiming directly at my father's head, punching him frantically. Faced with this torrential assault, my father was stunned, eventually lost his footing and fell directly into the coffin. "Pull them out, pull both of them out," Master Eight shouted. The 8 burly men clumsily pulled us out. However, they were biased, primarily pulling me. Let's put this matter aside for now. We'll go back first, Master 8 coldly ordered. When we got home, it was past 7 a.m., meaning the most ominous hour of the year had passed. We all sat in the courtyard. My mother sobbed, clutching my barely breathing brother. My father looked at me as if I were an enemy. Master 8, on the other hand, was very calm. He first offered me a few kind words of comfort. He even deliberately took out some candy, wanting me to eat it. I had never been treated this way in my life. To me, it was truly tempting, but I refused. Hope, tell Master 8 what exactly happened just now. He was still performing some finger calculations. Hope, did some evil spirit help you? He's not an evil spirit, I immediately retorted. Master 8, my parents, their expressions all changed. Then Master 8 narrowed his eyes, demanding, "Who is he? You beast, tell me," my father cursed. But I put on a stubborn face, remaining silent. Master 8 sneered, repeatedly saying, "Good, good," as if this matter didn't trouble him at all. Master 8 mumbled to himself, took out a few talismans, and lit them. At first, there was nothing unusual, but suddenly the flames on the talismans became unstable. Master 8 panicked, bit his tongue, and sprayed blood onto the talismans. Pfft. With each mouthful of blood, this wasn't blood, it was more like oil. Nevertheless, it barely managed to burn the talismans completely. Master 8's complexion was terrible. He performed divination for a while longer, then suddenly looked up, his expression as if he had just eaten a large bowl of maggots. Old Zhao paced back and forth in the courtyard, seemingly calculating some direction. Finally, Master 8's face darkened. He pointed to the ground beneath their feet. "Zhao Bao Gui," this was my father's vulgar name. Master 8 continued, "Under your house, you are suppressing a human skeleton." The failure of today's longevity borrowing is directly related to this skeleton. In an instant, the courtyard was unusually quiet. What I thought was suppressing a skeleton. Could it be Bai? No wonder he always came to play with me, so he had always been right beneath my feet. But on second thought, it wasn't right. My house used to be a farmland, a vegetable patch. How could a skeleton be there? Then my mother was so scared she almost fainted, clutching my brother even tighter, repeatedly asking, "What should we do about this?" My father's expression was grim and changeable, wanting to speak but holding back. Master 8 seized this opportunity, pressing, "Zhao Baogui, do you have a secret? Tell me quickly, otherwise the consequences will be severe. Today he could interfere with Da Fu, in a while he might interfere with your whole family, causing you all to die terrible deaths." My father dropped to his knees with a thud. "Master 8, help me, you must help me." Look at his spinelessness. Then my father recounted an old story. My family heavily favored sons over daughters. Only a son could carry on the family name, while a daughter was just a loss, raised for someone else's family. And in that era of family planning, after my parents married, my father did many crazy things to have a son. Initially, he ran to temples, burned incense, and prayed to Buddha. He even once caught a doll, the kind of doll found in temples. It was said that if you caught one, your wish would come true. My father actually caught a male doll. He joyfully and excitedly returned, waiting. But after several months, my mother's belly still showed no signs of movement. My father panicked again. This time, he was even more ruthless, running directly into the wilderness, bowing to mountain gods and honoring the 5 immortals: fox, yellow weasel, white weasel, hedgehog, snake spirits. One time, he coincidentally encountered a large white fox. My father quickly prepared offerings, scattering them on the ground, then ran far away, knelt and kowtowed, begging the fox for blessings. But the white fox ate its fill and swaggered away. My mother's belly remained flat. My father grew so anxious he couldn't stand it. Finally, he gritted his teeth and did the most extreme thing. In the northwest corner outside the village, there was a desolate grave. It was said that the person buried there was a talented man who had lived an unfortunate life. My father believed in a very sinister superstition, begging for an yin child, asking for a ghost child. Under the cover of darkness, he dug up that grave, collected the skeleton inside, and brought it home. In other words, a skeleton was being suppressed under my house. This was all my father's doing. He also frequently secretly worshipped this skeleton, nourishing it with fine wine and good meat. The goal was for this skeleton to become benevolent, even to reincarnate into our family as my father's son. Just think, to have a great scholar as a son, how wonderful would that be? Upon hearing this, Master 8 was so furious he kicked my father hard. You're insane," he pointed at my father. This kind of sinister method, aren't you afraid of repercussions? If he willingly becomes your son, that's one thing. But if he's unwilling, isn't that tantamount to you using your whole family to suppress him, preventing him from ever achieving reincarnation? My father sat on the ground, too scared to stand, trembling all over. At this moment, I also felt an urge to tear my father apart, so Bai was truly pitiful. I pointed at my father, cursing him in every way. My mother, meanwhile, only wept, saying how miserable her and her son's fate was. The courtyard instantly erupted into chaos, like a shattered marketplace. But Master 8 quickly came to a decision, sighing deeply. All right, since things have come to this, let's put the past aside for now. It's for the good of your whole family. And Zhao Baogui, tell me where the skeleton is. I'll take your whole family to properly worship it, then choose another location for it to rest in peace. Under Master 8's mediation, the atmosphere calmed a little. My father led everyone to a corner of the courtyard. It looked unremarkable but hid a secret. He squatted on the ground, felt around, and pulled out a ring handle from the earth. Beneath it was a hidden underground cellar. The moment it opened, a strange smell assailed our noses. Looking closely, the style of the place indeed resembled a tomb. The walls and floor were paved with green bricks, and in the center of the cellar lay a coffin. In front of the coffin were traces of burnt paper money and offerings. Master 8 led the way, stepping down a creaking ladder that showed signs of decay and mold. Soon, our whole family, including my unconscious brother, was carried down into the cellar and stood before this coffin. Master 8 lit the incense burner and candles, performing a simple ritual. Next, he and my father painstakingly opened the coffin. I saw it very clearly, a complete, undisturbed skeleton, arranged in a human form. At this moment, tears welled up in my eyes. This was definitely Bai, his skeleton. Master 8, with a respectful expression, bowed, then reached into the coffin. It seemed he intended to collect the bones and then go to the wilderness to find a geomantically auspicious spot to rebury Bai. I thought this was a good thing. At this moment, I secretly wished that he would be completely free from now on, truly liberated. Unexpectedly, Master 8's expression suddenly changed drastically. His initial reverence instantly turned ferocious. He had already prepared something. He hid a nail in his palm. This nail was sharp and long, smeared with fresh dog blood. Master 8 aimed directly at the skull of the skeleton and suddenly struck. Thwack! The nail drove straight into the center of the skull's forehead. I watched, stunned. Master 8 then put on a triumphant expression, sneering repeatedly. I was originally worried this evil spirit might play tricks. I didn't want a direct confrontation with it. Now it's good, the ambush succeeded. Eating this soul-suppressing nail, it's guaranteed to be doomed for eternity. A proper burial for this evil spirit? Dream on. Not to mention ruining my important longevity borrowing scheme. What if it develops a taste for mischief from now on and frequently causes trouble for the village? At this moment, my mind was blank. My parents, however, upon hearing Master 8, continuously praised him. My father even shouted in agreement, "Good, good, it's dead. This vile evil spirit is what harmed my defy. It deserved to die terribly, terribly." But at this moment, I completely broke down like a dam bursting. With a loud scream, my whole body erupted. I didn't want Bai's fate to be like this. I also blamed myself. If it weren't for protecting me, he wouldn't have been discovered, and he wouldn't be like this now, doomed for eternity. This Master 8 was insidious and cunning, truly a scumbag. I rushed towards Master 8 as if insane, swinging my fists. "I'll beat you to death." Master 8 looked old, but he wasn't weak. After enduring a few solid blows, he cursed, "You insolent brat." He delivered a kick with great force, striking directly at my solar plexus. I tumbled, caught off guard, my vision darkening in waves. My chest felt as if it would shatter. Master 8 fiddled with the skull, particularly savoring the soul-suppressing nail embedded in it, and his mood improved. "That's right, Zhao Baogui, in a while I'll choose another day to borrow longevity for defy. What Master 8 promises, I will definitely deliver." My parents, hearing these words, were as if injected with chicken's blood. My mother excitedly hugged my brother even tighter, repeatedly calling out, "Son, son, you can still be saved." My father fawned over Master 8, bowing repeatedly, endlessly flattering him. Then he remembered something and suddenly lashed out at me. "You damned girl, who allowed you to be disrespectful to Master 8 just now? I'll beat you to death, you little beast. I truly regret giving birth to you." My father specifically aimed at my face, kicking and stomping with all his might. It was too cruel, he clearly wanted to disfigure me. What could I do? I had just taken a kick from Master 8 and hadn't fully recovered. Now I could only cover my head. Still arrogant, huh? Why aren't you arrogant anymore? You brat, you have no one to help you now, do you? My father didn't stop, still hitting and cursing. But suddenly, outside the cellar, a wind arose, a howling gale. In an instant, the entire cellar became cold and eerie. I weakly lifted my head and saw it, a hazy figure standing behind my father. He was also desperately hitting my father, only he couldn't touch him. But even so, my father sensed something. Master 8, what's happening? My father stammered in fear. Master 8 also stared wide-eyed, looking around, genuinely puzzled. Hadn't Master 8 used the soul-suppressing nail? The nailed skull was still in his hand. But why was Bai unharmed? It must be said that this Master 8 was truly cunning and experienced. He immediately cast aside his distracting thoughts, chanted spells, and rubbed his fingers over his eyes. In an instant, he could see Bai, that hazy figure. Master 8's face turned pale in horror. He immediately pulled a small bagua mirror from his chest. He always carried this magical artifact with him. This bagua mirror was truly sinister. In an instant, it emitted a faint light, aimed directly at Bai and gently shone on him. Bai seemed very uncomfortable, painfully taking a step back. "Run, where are you going?" Master 8 sneered repeatedly, chasing after him with the bagua mirror, refusing to give up. "Run, quickly run outside." I yelled with all my might at this moment. Master 8, quick and sharp, blocked the exit of the cellar. "What are you two waiting for?" he shouted at my parents. "Cover this insolent brat's mouth." My parents both rushed forward. "You little girl, be honest." My mother pinched me hard, while my father slapped my face with all his might. In a moment, blood seeped from the corner of my mouth. At this moment, I also fought back desperately, 1 against 2, as if I no longer wanted to live. Struggling with them, my actions only angered my parents further. My father brutally slapped me again. When I was almost exhausted, he grabbed my hair, forcing my head up to watch how Master 8 was chasing Bai with the bagua mirror. "Hope, you care so much about this evil spirit. Is this your man? How did you manage to seduce him? Sleeping in a coffin, yet you still have such tricks. Tusk, that's right, you two have already slept together, haven't you?" My father put on a triumphant air, finding the mind to say such chilling words, and to me, his own daughter. "Ha, saying such unpleasant words." Indeed, the situation was not optimistic. Bai, to avoid the bagua mirror, was forced to fly wildly everywhere, crashing into things in the cellar. But suddenly, Master 8 seemed stunned. What was he still sneering about? He put on a horrified expression, retreated a few steps, then threw away the bagua mirror, turned around, and desperately climbed the ladder. He wanted to escape. Master 8's old bones now resembled a large monkey. His speed climbing the ladder was truly fast. Moreover, he climbed to the cellar exit in one breath without stopping. He even didn't forget to slam the door shut with a thud, clearly blocking his own retreat, afraid of being caught, so he used the door to slow things down a bit. The cellar became particularly dark, with only the light of a few candles remaining. My parents had no idea what had happened, staring wide-eyed at each other. But I caught a glimpse. Bai had disappeared. In the entire cellar, I no longer saw that hazy figure. What had happened to him? I looked around, both worried and tense. Suddenly, there was movement in the corner. My brother, who had been curled up there, actually sat up, even gasping for breath. He first put on a very unfamiliar expression, moving his limbs a bit, then he shot up to his feet. My parents both stared at this scene. My mother, a very simple woman, immediately rejoiced. "Defy, my son, your health is good." My brother snorted. "Who's your son? I'm your grandfather." This was clearly Bai. He had avoided the bagua mirror by directly entering my brother's body, performing a trick of borrowing a body for a soul's return, temporarily. A bagua mirror might be effective against ghosts, but against my brother's body, how was it any different from an ordinary mirror? No wonder Master 8 wanted to escape. Only a fool wouldn't run. The scene was momentarily silent for a few seconds. Seeing my father still clutching my hair, Bai's entire face darkened. "Let go of that filthy hand," he immediately shouted. And under his anger, my brother's body also suddenly displayed a strange phenomenon. His eyes instantly turned pitch black, as if they weren't eyes at all, but two small black holes. My parents were both terrified. First, my father frantically rushed towards the ladder. My mother followed a step behind. "Old Zhao, let me go first," my mother yelled frantically as she saw my father climbing the ladder. But my father put on a very annoyed expression, climbing and forcefully stomping on my mother's hands. What kind of husband was that? At this moment, my brother also made his next move. His whole body suddenly shot outwards. A human being could absolutely not do that. His body was stiff and straight like a cannonball. His target, my mother. With a thud, Bai powerfully headbutted her. My mother fell to the ground, rolled a few times, then went limp. My father, seeing this, was truly terrified and completely distracted. He had already climbed halfway up when he slipped. A tragic scream was heard as my father slid down into the cellar like on a slide, almost face to face with Bai. My father stared at Bai, stammering, I, for a while. Are you a chicken? What are you clucking about? Bai coldly asked him. My father mumbled, but then immediately thought of something. Hope. He looked at me for help. Father was wrong. Father apologizes to you. From now on, Father doesn't need defy anymore, only cares for you, pampers you. Father will find everything you lost and return it to you, okay, my daughter, my good daughter. In the end, he used a pleading tone, and the first time I'd ever heard him call me daughter, ironically, and in this situation. I was too lazy to answer him. My father, scared, rambled on with a bunch of words to appease me. Bai listened in silence, then suddenly stepped back, step by step. His distance from my father grew further and further. My father let out a sigh of relief, then even more vigorously showered me with sweet talk, but Bai snorted, forcibly interrupting him. Out of respect for your age, I'll call you uncle. Uncle, don't misunderstand. The reason I retreated isn't to spare you, but because I wanted to take a few steps back to build momentum. That way, hitting you will hurt more. Having said that, Bai darted forward a few steps with almost ghostly speed. Using that momentum, he launched himself like a cannonball again. This force, this speed, my father screamed tragically. His limbs were almost twisting together, and he flew up, landing directly in the middle of the ladder. Not long after, Bai and I left the cellar. God knows where that Master 8 had fled to. As for Bai, he no longer borrowed my brother's body. He emerged, returning to his hazy figure. I took Bai to my old room, but could it even be called a room? The only piece of furniture in it was probably this coffin, right? I resolutely sat back into the coffin. Bai also seemed interested, sitting directly opposite me. I asked the biggest question in my heart. Wasn't your skeleton nailed? Why are you okay? Bai, no longer pretending to be mute, replied, that skeleton wasn't mine, so I'm fine. I was astonished. Bai seemed to be hesitating about something, very hesitant. What is it? I pressed repeatedly. Tell me, quickly tell me. Finally, Bai spoke astonishing words. Hope, the skeleton in the cellar was actually you, your past life. I was stunned. Bai recounted an old story. In the northwest of this village, there was a desolate grave. Indeed, a man was buried inside. This rumor wasn't wrong, but people didn't know that this desolate grave actually held two people, a man and a woman. Bai pointed to himself, then to me. Then he rubbed the top of my head. I felt a surge of cold air instantly flood in. I shivered a few times, but this cold air, besides being cold, had another effect. My mind was chaotic. Many images flashed by like a movie. First were the familiar ones, mostly scenes of me sleeping in the coffin and my father forcing me to eat worms. This kind of ordeal was all too familiar to me. Tears instantly streamed down. But next, images I was completely unfamiliar with appeared. I wore a cheongsam, a style of dress from the Republic of China era. Was this me? Suddenly, a flood of memories, as if reactivated, rushed in. In my previous life, I was born into a merchant family during the Republic of China. My father then, or Papa, as was common to call him at the time, was always very dictatorial, forcing me to obey him. He wanted to meddle in everything, coercing and interfering, even including my marriage. He even issued strict orders, forcing me to marry a stranger for a business alliance. But the person I loved was a somewhat famous painter of that era. The painter's appearance and smile briefly flashed in my mind. A long robe with short sleeves, those slightly melancholic eyes, and that refined face. Wasn't it Bai? He was very poor. Only I knew why he used all the money he earned from selling paintings to aid disaster victims. We, as lovers, made many efforts to be together. I even eloped with him, but each time my father caught us. The last time, right in front of me, my father ordered his servants to beat him severely, beating him until he fell to the ground, unable to get up, covered in injuries. My father, in his rage, also disheveled my hair, lifted my chin, and roared, "You like him? What is he? Besides painting a few pictures, he's useless. What can he do? If you marry him, what about my business? I can't end up supporting both of you, supporting this good-for-nothing. My father locked me up and forcibly set the wedding date. 3 days later, I was to marry that strange old man, his business partner, the so-called talented young son-in-law. On the morning of the third day, when the servant came to my room to help me wash and comb my hair, she only found me lying on the bed, already breathless. In the room was a basin of charcoal, originally used for warmth. Now, a soaking wet towel covered it. I had committed suicide by charcoal, dying for love. After I died, my father completely abandoned me, burying me in a haphazard mass grave. It was a night of heavy rain. By dragging his soaking wet body, I don't know how long he searched before he inquired about me and reached this graveyard. He wailed, digging up my body with both a shovel and his hands. The rain grew heavier, countless raindrops mingling with Bai's tears falling on my face. Bai held me tightly, even intertwining his fingers with mine. "Don't be afraid, I'm here, I'm here." He repeated this sentence over and over. Finally, he carried my body away, finding a rather beautiful spot. He also sent an urgent letter to a friend. By the time his friend arrived, it was too late. Bai, holding me, died in front of a newly dug grave. The grave was dug by him, prepared for both of us. At this time, we both hugged tightly, sitting in a simple tent in front of the grave. Inside the tent was a wooden basin with burnt charcoal and a burnt towel. Bai had chosen to die in the same way as me. He had once promised me that he would never leave or abandon me for this lifetime. He had fulfilled it, protecting that promise with his death. Not long after, an unmarked grave appeared there. An unmarked grave had only one purpose. That friend hoped we would be together forever, quietly together, never to be disturbed by anyone. That person also brought some of Bai's personal belongings from when he was alive, including some paintings and letters, placing them one by one in front of the grave. This also led to a later rumor, saying that the owner of this grave was a talented man who had lived an unfortunate life. Recalling all this, I cried uncontrollably. At this moment, this hazy figure also moved closer. In an instant, his face reappeared, still the same, refined and melancholic, but also utterly pale. He cried, yet also smiled, looking at me so intently. The next part of the story was also clear. My father in this life, in order to beg for a ghost child, secretly went and dug up a grave. Only he didn't know that 2 skeletons were buried in that grave. He dug up one of them and thought he had succeeded. As a result, my skeleton was suppressed in Zhao Baogui's house, and by fate's arrangement, his wife quickly became pregnant with dragon phoenix twins, one of whom was me, and a boy whose fate was plotted against. By fate's arrangement, after we were born, a person called Master 8 appeared. This was an evil yin-yang master. He performed a divination and made a calculation, intending to transfer all my fate to my brother. Bai and I talked a lot, eventually growing tired. We lay together in the coffin. I tried my best to lean against him. Actually, thinking about it, it was ridiculous, yet also sad. We only wanted to love each other, to be together forever, never separated. Was this request too much? In our previous life, we were separated as lovers, finally only able to use death to win the chance to be buried in the same grave. In this life, we were again separated by yin and yang. I really wanted to hug him, but I couldn't. Each embrace met only empty air, so we could only lean on each other in a way that appeared to be leaning. No one spoke, just feeling the happy atmosphere that filled this silence. But not long after, I shivered uncomfortably, feeling cold. I hadn't said anything. Bai meticulously noticed all of this. He stood up and instantly flew out of the coffin. He was very apologetic. "We can't be too close, otherwise I really will harm you. I should also talk less. That's not good for you either." Not being able to be too close, not being able to talk much. These things felt like needles piercing my heart, my eyes welled up. "I'm not afraid," I replied. Bai didn't answer. Regarding humans and ghosts coexisting, he naturally knew more than I, a living person. He turned and slowly flew out of the room. "Where are you going? Where do you want to go?" I frantically shouted at him. He didn't answer again. "When will you come tomorrow?" I continued to press. Still the same words, good or not good. I didn't care, and I wasn't afraid. He still didn't answer. Just like that, I watched him leave with my eyes. But as he was about to fly out the window, an accident happened. He let out a tragic scream, and his floating figure, as if losing control, suddenly fell to the ground. I panicked, muttering to myself, "What's happening?" Moreover, I noticed wisps of white smoke, like vapor, rising from his body. After each wisp of smoke, his hazy figure became even hazier, even fading in a terrifying way. I rushed forward, wanting to do something, but I didn't know how. I was so anxious I started to cry, but suddenly a possibility came to mind. Master 8 once said, "As long as he's hit by the soul-suppressing nail, Bai will be doomed for eternity, his soul scattered." Wasn't this sight before me exactly what happens after being hit? So that desolate grave, it must have been Master 8, that cunning old fox. After he fled, he must have performed divination again, spying on something, for example, realizing there was still a secret in that desolate grave. So he secretly played a trick. Bai, at this moment, very reluctantly and with great effort, said to me, "The jar." I didn't quite understand, but immediately followed instructions. I found a wine jar and placed it in front of him. In front of the jar, he was still a fleeting figure. Behind the jar, this figure had completely flown into it. I understood. With this jar shielding him, he wouldn't emit smoke anymore. These wisps of smoke were like his flesh and blood. He absolutely couldn't lose any more. I hugged the wine jar and immediately set off. Under the cover of darkness, I ran to the northwest corner outside the village. After a difficult search, I found the desolate grave. Seeing the grave-robbing hole that had been dug and the destroyed tomb, I was completely stunned. The entire grave was empty. Bai's skeleton was nowhere to be found. I clutched the wine jar, bewildered and helpless for a moment. But fortunately, I immediately noticed a piece of paper hanging on the edge of the grave-robbing hole in Master 8's handwriting. The writing was crooked and distorted, like ghost talismans. The content read, "Hope, go with that evil spirit to the water cave to find me." Cunning indeed, this old fox had also guessed that I would come to check, so he left this note. Speaking of the water cave, don't think that just because I always slept in a coffin, I hadn't heard of its infamous reputation. It wasn't far from the village, but it also had a nickname, Corpse Cave or Body Disposal Cave. It was said that in earlier years, living conditions were poor, and there wasn't enough food in our village. So there had always been a terrifying taboo. People over 60 years old had to be taken into this corpse cave. Inside, besides the vast expanse of water, there was a small mini-island. The elderly were left there until they starved to death. In fact, most people couldn't bear it and eventually chose to jump into the water to commit suicide. You can imagine how many souls had accumulated under the vast waters of the corpse cave. I didn't know why Master 8 specifically called us to find him here. I vaguely smelled a conspiracy, but Bai's skeleton was definitely in Master 8's hands. Bai's soul was not yet scattered, proving that Master 8 had held back a step. What would happen if I didn't go, or if he grew impatient? I hugged the wine jar and stood stunned for a long time. 2 hours later, I still resolutely set out. As Master 8 instructed, only I went, carrying the wine jar. Outside this corpse cave, there was a shallow area where many abandoned wooden boats were moored. I casually chose a boat and rowed into the cave. The water here smelled terrible, a foul, fishy odor. Occasionally, a cold wind would blow. Faintly, mixed in the wind, were some cries, male and female. Just imagine, on a vast expanse of water with no shore in sight, the boat drifting along, encountering these evil occurrences. The feeling? I was very scared, but whenever this happened, I would look down at the wine jar in my arms, and it would give me courage. I didn't know how long I had been rowing, but finally I saw the small island. It wasn't much bigger than my courtyard. At this moment, oil lamps were lit on the small island, suggesting a formation was being set up. In addition, white streamers, the kind used for calling souls during funerals and burials, were planted at all 4 corners of the island. Master 8 was on the island, dressed in a coarse blue robe and carrying a large cloth bag. He looked at me coldly. I rowed the boat, approaching step by step. "Hope," he called me, then took the cloth bag. With a slight movement, a clinking sound came from inside. Master 8 opened it and took out segments of Bai's bones. Especially the leg bones and chest bones, all had nails hammered into them. I understood. Master 8 intentionally chose these positions. They weren't the most vital, but merely to torment Bai without scattering his soul. "What exactly do you want?" I asked as soon as I stepped ashore. Master 8 grinned, his face sinister. He repeatedly evaluated me. "Hope, do you know why I help Xiao Bao Gui like this? Borrowing yin longevity for his foolish son merely for money?" Master 8 shook his head. With Xiao Bao Gui's financial situation, how much money could he offer? Or is it that my relationship with him is very good? Master 8 shook his head again, meaning they weren't that close. At this moment, he looked at me with great appreciation, even admiring the wine jar I was holding. Let me tell you honestly, I've always wanted to raise a malicious spirit. Do you know what a malicious spirit is? Not a ghost, but first finding a soul filled with extreme resentment, then nurturing it step by step through dark arts. That's what a malicious spirit is. It's just a shame that such a soul is rare and hard to find. I understood. Suppose this longevity borrowing scheme had actually succeeded. My lifespan would be completely transferred to my brother, and I would eventually suffocate in that deep red coffin, torn apart by 100 snakes. Just imagine how immense that resentment would be. But I also had one question. Why do you want to raise a malicious spirit? Why? Master 8 sneered. For someone like me, who deals with evil matters all year round, having a malicious spirit to protect me is the best thing. Especially, Master 8's smile grew even more sinister. I've done many bad things. Who knows if one day I'll face retribution? Having a malicious spirit by my side can also ensure peace and safety. I couldn't help but let out a ha. Some people don't know they are doing evil, so they do it unintentionally. But there are people like Master 8. He clearly knows it's evil but deliberately does it. For example, borrowing yin longevity, what's he borrowing? To fulfill the wishes of my scumbag brother, sacrificing me? At this moment, Master 8 was no longer interested in talking much. He reached into his cloth bag, grabbed the skull, and said menacingly, "Choose. Either you leave alone and I'll condemn this evil spirit to eternal damnation, or you stay with him and become my malicious spirit, right here, right now. Don't worry, become my subordinate and I'll treat you well. Oh, you two are lovers, aren't you?" At this moment, Master 8 patted his chest and guaranteed, "After you become malicious spirits, you can still be in love, and I even have a way for you to become husband and wife. Then you can torment each other however you like. If you can even give me a malicious spirit child, that would be even better." Looking at his expression, it was as if he already saw a malicious spirit child being born. His hearty laughter was nauseating. "What to do now? Decide." Master 8 left that statement hanging. Then he took out a gourd and poured a bowl of black water from it. He handed it to me. "Drink it." I stared at this bowl of black water. I knew the consequences. This must be a bowl of poison. After drinking it, I would die a very painful death. Only then could it further stimulate me, so that before I died, I would have even greater resentment. As for Bai, Master 8 surely had other ways to torment him into a malicious spirit. "Drink it," Master 8 urged me. He even found another soul-suppressing nail and aimed it at the skull, gesturing. Did I still have a choice? I silently picked up the bowl of black water. Master 8 chuckled, but the next second I flicked my wrist, and the bowl fell directly, shattering with a crash. Master 8's expression was one of disbelief. At this moment, I raised the wine jar even higher and violently smashed it to the ground. Flashback to earlier, when Master 8 fled. When Master 8 fled, Bai and I were sitting together in the coffin chatting. I had thought of a problem, how to deal with this Master 8. He was a disaster, and precisely because of him, I had been tormented since birth. Of course, most importantly, I also had a concern. Would he come back? For example, would he go to that desolate grave to check, and then discover the secret within it? That Bai's skeleton was actually still in the grave, and so on. Targeting these issues, Bai came up with a plan, a substitution. We would use a randomly found skeleton to replace his skeleton in the desolate grave first. The next step, to put it bluntly, was to wait for the rabbit to fall into the snare itself. Therefore, everything that happened before was a well-staged play by the two of us. After all, if any part of the play went wrong, how could we trick this cunning old fox? Return to the present. Now, as I smashed the wine jar, Bai quickly flew out from within. What about his figure fading? What about his soul being scattered? He was as healthy as could be. Moreover, Bai now stopped talking nonsense, turned, and quickly flew towards the water surface outside the small island. This hazy figure suddenly emitted a strange sound, like a low, fast-paced buzzing. Bai endlessly flew in various patterns, buzzing in various ways. The water surface, which had seemed calm, now reacted with horrifying scenes one after another. First, pairs of eyes appeared in the water, definitely not human eyes, because these eyes were pitch black, like small black holes that could swallow everything. Very quickly, faces of the dead also slightly emerged from the water. They were all quite old, with gray hair and wrinkled faces. These were all the souls who had died in the corpse cave. After all, Bai was a ghost and could communicate with them. His strange voice must have been some kind of ghost language. As these dead people surfaced one after another, the entire corpse cave was truly about to burst. These souls also buzzed, seemingly communicating something with Bai. Then these souls all focused their attention on the small island. They all swam towards it. Master 8 was terrified by this scene. He screamed, "Oh my God," immediately searching for a digging tool and grabbing his Bagua mirror. All the magical artifacts he carried were pulled out. He shone it around, gesticulated wildly, trying his best to resist furiously, but was it effective? The souls here were too numerous to count. They literally appeared from all directions, converging on him. Master 8 was forced to eventually turn his attention to me. He looked at me ferociously. "Hope," roared, enduring several bites from the ghosts, but still recklessly rushed towards me. Seeing his demeanor, Master 8 had conceived an evil plan. If he could control me, he could then threaten Bai to stabilize these souls. After rushing over, he even put on a quick victory stance, immediately throwing a kick. He had used this move before, powerfully kicking my solar plexus in the cellar. This old man, a man called Master 8 in the village, only knew how to bully women. He was truly a scumbag. Only, this time, I wasn't afraid of him anymore. Before coming to the corpse cave, Bai had taught me a move to deal with Master 8. No matter what magic or martial arts he knew, there was always one fatal spot on his body. So I remembered it well and now aimed precisely. As Master 8 was about to kick, I made my move a step earlier. Aiming directly at his crotch, I kicked. Thwack! Master 8, a master of the Wuding school, clutched his crotch, his eyes wide like brass bells. I wasn't satisfied and immediately followed with another thwack. Master 8 completely collapsed, baring his teeth and unable to get up. Layers upon layers of souls surged forward, piling on Master 8 like human pyramids. Before dawn, a faint ray of sunlight shone into the corpse cave. Bai and I sat in a boat, leaving the small island. For the first time in my life, I put on makeup, washed up a bit, and pinned a hairpin in my hair. I found this hairpin when I went to the desolate grave. I happily asked Bai, "Is it pretty?" However, I was also particularly cold at this moment. Bai looked at me silently. Just like that, when the wooden boat reached the shallow bank, he flew out. "He's leaving again." I panicked and jumped out. Bai turned around, that hazy figure waving his hand at me, meaning to tell me to keep my distance from him. Then he pointed into the distance. It was a wild forest. This was his destination. Yin and yang separated. Thinking of this, my eyes reddened. Bai flew towards this forest. At this moment, he wanted to speak several times but held back. Finally, he left one sentence. You forget me, only then can you start over and try to feel. Do you know, this human world is truly beautiful." No, I denied. "This world is beautiful, but without Bai, what meaning does this beauty hold for me?" I assumed a stance of not giving up, following closely behind Bai. Wherever he flew, I followed. It was clear that Bai was also crying. That hazy figure kept secretly wiping away tears. Suddenly, he made up his mind and flew up into the air, floating away. He wanted to completely abandon me. I watched him in midair, both crying and smiling. "Bai, Zhang Kai Keo? This was his real name. The next second, as Bai turned to look at me, I had already taken off the hairpin and fiercely stabbed it into my neck. A violent pain and a stream of blood gushed from my neck. Bai flew back as if insane. My body went limp and collapsed to the ground. Bai wanted to catch me, but he tried several times and simply couldn't. He frantically spun around, emitting all sorts of buzzing sounds, speaking that ghost language. Then he realized something, opening his mouth to say, "Why are you so foolish?" At this moment, I had already begun to tremble, losing a large amount of blood and oxygen. But I tried to signal to Bai to hold my hand, wanting to interlace our fingers. He did it. Even though he couldn't grasp it, he made the gesture. Husband, I tried several times. Finally, I shouted, "Husband!" This was a sentence I owed him from my previous life. Then I closed my eyes. Epilogue 1. On a stormy night in a simple tent, Bai held my body, placing a wet towel over a basin of charcoal. He held me tightly, constantly adjusting his posture to ensure that even after he died, he could continue to hold me so we would never be separated. He incessantly spoke all sorts of loving words to me, recalling the first time we met and all our dating experiences. He even rummaged through his pocket and found a hairpin. He knew that when I was alive, I loved hairpins the most. He carefully pinned it in my hair. At this moment, his face was very pale. The tent was already full of toxic fumes. Bai suppressed his discomfort, smiling fearlessly, holding me even tighter. Marry me, whether you're human or a corpse, you are my wife. In this life, I will only be good to you. I will always be by your side. You must remember, I am here. I am always here. Bai's entire face was flushed. This was a premonition of death. He gritted his teeth, persevering, his fingers intertwined with mine. He even leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Wife, can you call me husband? Just one word is enough. Please, I beg you." Epilogue 2. Dusk, with the disappearance of the last ray of sunlight, in a desolate grave, there was suddenly movement. Two hazy figures flew out from within. They disliked sunlight, preferring such a quiet night. The two figures happily flew up. Sometimes they entwined with each other, sometimes they separated, but only for a brief moment before quickly intertwining again. Finally, they flew to a riverbank. One of the figures descended first, sitting by the bank. He began to paint, one painting after another, depicting landscapes of magnificent mountains and rivers, and also a girl in a cheongsam, his only and eternal love. The other figure was beside him. She was dancing gracefully, her beautiful dance complementing each excellent artwork. Late at night, the two figures intertwined in an embrace, leaving together, their fingers tightly clasped. Epilogue 3. Many years later, on a clear, sunny day, two families, who were also neighbors, joyfully received good news at the same time, one a baby boy, the other a baby girl. These two neighbors quickly came to congratulate each other. One joked, "Brother, we once said if we both had sons, they'd be brothers in the future." At this moment, the other laughed and interjected, "If it's a boy and a girl, they'll be childhood sweethearts, of course I remember. Congratulations, brother, you also have a daughter now." "Joy, joy, and uncle, you also have a son now."